Hi guys. So we're going to work on the student book for lesson 7.9 today. Let me see. Number 1 is done for you. So let's look at number 2. 1 and 1/7 times 1 and 3/4. I cannot multiply them that way. I need to turn them into improper fractions. So the whole number, the 1, times the denominator, the 7. 1 times 7 is 7, plus the numerator, the 1. 7 plus 1 is 8, over the denominator, which is 7. Next one. For 1 and 3/4, the numerator is 1, times the denominator, which is 4. 1 times 4 is, the whole number is 1, times the denominator, which is 4. 1 times 4 is 4, plus the numerator, 4 plus 3 equals 7. So I have 7/4. So our problem ends up becoming 8/7 times 7/4. Then I do 8 times 7, because we multiply the numerator by each other. 8 times 7 is 56. And 7 times 4 is 28. All right. So let's try to make this smaller. I am going to come down here so I have a bit more room, and I think I'm going to change which color I'm using as well. So I have 56 over 28. I'm going to divide stuff out. They are both even, so I'm going to divide out of 2. 2 goes into 56. 2 goes into 5. 2 times what is close to 5? 2 times 2, which is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down the 6. And 2 goes into 16. 2 times what is 16? 8. So we have 28. And then I have 28. 2 goes into 28. How many times? 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 8. That gives us a 0. Bring down the 8. 2 goes into 8. 2 times 4. 4 times. Okay, now here's what I noticed. I could make the 56 into a 28. That means that this is going to actually divide out equally. So let's do that. 14 into 28 goes 2 times. Because remember, 2 times 14 is 28. So our actual full answer is a 2. Number 3. 8 and 1/3 times 3/5. So we take the whole number, the 8, times the denominator, the 3. 8 times 3 is 24, plus the numerator, which is 1. 24 plus 1 is 25, over the denominator, which is 3. So I now have 25/3 times 3/5. All right. So there is a trick that I can do at this point. I'm debating whether to show you the trick now or not. You can continue doing it this way, where you multiply it straight across, and then you end up with a number, and then we divide stuff out of it, and eventually we figure out what it's equal to. I am going to show you this trick, but only because I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh, well, that's going to happen. You see how there's a 3 here on the bottom and there's a 3 here on the top? I can divide that 3 out already and change that into a 1 and a 1, which actually changes my problem to 25 times 1, which is 25, over 1 times 5, which is 5. And then we have 25 divided by 5, which everyone knows or should know. 5 times what is 25? 5 times 5. So we end up with our answer just being 5. Let's look at the next one. You could do it this way too. You don't have to do it this way. It's just I noticed that there was a 3 and a 3, and so I could have crossed those out. Let's look at the next one. Number 4. 2 5/8 times 1 2/3. So I have 2 times 8, which is 16, plus 5, which is, so the 6 plus 5 is 11, carry over the 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, so it's 21 over 8. Then I have 1 times 3, which is 3, plus 2, which is 5, over 3. So I have 21 over 8 times 5 over 3. Those aren't the same. Those aren't the same. I'm going to multiply like normal. So I multiply across. 21 times 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So that gives me 105 on the top. Then I have 8 times 3, which is 24. Let me pick a different number so we can make this smaller. Let's see what we can take out of this. So far, everything has been coming out to be a whole number. You want to try just straight up dividing it and see whether or not we can get a whole number, whether or not 24 times something is equal to 105. Because that's what we're going to end up with. 24 times something is equal to 105. All right, so let's think. If I do 24 times 5, let's go 24 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 120. That is too much. Sorry, I'm doing it over on the corner over here. Let me slide this whole thing over. So 24 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 96. Okay, so this one is not actually going to end up just dividing out the whole way. So we do need to okay, let me show you how we can do this over here. Like this. 24 into 105, we already decided that it was a 4. So we have our 96. Let's subtract. I cannot do 5 minus 6, so I'm going to change that 10 to a 9 and put a 1 over there with the 5, so it's now 15. 15 minus 6 is 9. So I now have 4 and 9/24. Let me rewrite it over here. 4 and 9/24. I can take a 3 out of both of those. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So I end up with the whole thing being equal to 4 and 3/8. Okay, let me move this so that all of number 4 is on the screen. And then if you want to pause, go ahead. I'm going to move on to the next problem. Number 5. The issue with these seems to be how long they are, not that they're super complicated. All that you need to do is change it to an improper fraction, multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and then you have to simplify and change it back into a mixed number. So they're not super hard, they're just super long. Number 5. 5½ times 3 1/3. Let's change those into improper fractions. Whole number is 5 times the denominator, which is 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the numerator, which is 1. 10 plus 1 is 11 over 2. And then we have second number, 3 1/3. The whole number is 3 times the denominator, which is 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus the numerator, which is 1. 9 plus 1 is 10 over 3. So I then rewrite this as 11/2 times 10/3. I don't have any number that's the same, so I'm just going to straight up multiply. Whenever you multiply anything by 10, you just add a 0 onto the end of the number. So 11 times 10 is 110. See, it's the 11 with a 0 after it. 2 times 3 is 6. All right, let's see what we can do with this. I can take out a 2. They're both even. So let's, different color, come down here and do that. Take out a 2. 110 divided by 2. All right. So 2 into 110. The 2 times what is about 11? 2 times 5, because 2 times 5 is 10. So we'll bring down the 1, we'll bring down the 0. 2 times what is 10? 2 times 5 is 10. So 10 minus 10 is 0. Okay, so that is 55 on the top. There's something funky going on with this marker. And on the bottom, we have 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So let's divide that out. 3 into 55. 3 goes into 5 one time. 5 minus 3 is 2. Bring down the 5. 3 goes into 25 8 times, because 8 times 3 is 24. 5 minus 4 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. So we end up with 1/3. Sorry about that, you guys. So I just rewrote what was left over, the 1 there, over the 3 for 1/3. So our answer for number 5 ends up becoming 18 1/3. Let's try number 6. Number 6 says 7 1/5 times 2 1/6. So we are going to, once again, make these improper fractions. 7 times 5, which is 35, plus 1, which is 36 over 5. Then I have 2 times 6, which is 12, plus 1, which is 13 over 6. So this is equal to, well, I guess that's the one that's going to go first this time. 13 over 6 times 36 over 5. None of the numbers are the same, so we are just going to straight up multiply, and I'm going to shift color so we don't get totally confused. 36 times 13. 6 times 3 is 18. 3 times 3 is 9, plus the 1, which is 10. I'm going to put a 0 down there as a placeholder. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. Add it all together. 8 plus 0 is 8. 0 plus 6 is 6. 1 plus 3 is 4. So our top number is 468 divided by 6 times 5, which is 30. Okay, so that is our not simplified number, 468 over 30. Let's see what we can take out of this. 468 over 30. Well, we can definitely take out a 2. They are both even. We can take that out. Okay, so 2 into 468. 2 goes into 4. 2 times, because 2 times 2 is 4. Bring down the 6. 2 goes into 6. 3 times, because 2 times 3 is 6. 0, bring down the 8. 2 goes into 8. 4 times, because 2 times 4 is 8. So that leaves us with 234 on the top, and then 2 into 30. 2 goes into 3. 1 time, because 1 times 2 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. Bring down the 0. 3 goes into 10. 2 goes into 10. 5 times. Minus 10. So that's over 15. So I now have 234 over 15. I cannot take, I don't think I can take anything else out of that. Let me check. I can't take another 2 out because the 5 is not even. 15 isn't even. I can't take out a 5 because the 234 does not end in either a 5 or a 0. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9. 1, so I can take a 3 out of that, and 1 plus 5 is 6. I can take a 3 out of that. Okay, so let's take out a 3. So divided by 3. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to write with the black, but I'm going to do the problem up here because I actually have space up here. Okay. So I'm going to take the problem up here, 3 into 234. Okay? This is this problem. I moved it up here so that I have room for it. 3 cannot go into 2, so we're going to do 3 into 23. How many times does 3 go into 23? 3 times what is close to 23? 3 times 7. Because 3 times 7 is 21. 3 minus 1 is 2. Bring down the 4. Whoops, not 8, 4. 3 times what is 24? 3 times 8 is 24. So I'm going to have that at 78. Sorry, minus the 24, which gives us a 0. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, so let's check again. I cannot take out a 2. I don't have both even numbers. I cannot take out a 5. 78 does not end in either a 0 or 5. 7 plus 8 is equal to 15. 1 plus 5 is equal to 6. That's divisible by 3. But 5 is not divisible by 3, so I can't go any further. Now I need to change this into its improper fraction. So I'm going to come over here and go 5 into 78 and see how many times that goes. 5 goes into 7 one time. 7 minus 5 is 2. Bring down the 8. 5 goes into 28 5 times, because 5 times 5 is 25. 8 minus 5 is 3. I don't have anything else left to bring down, and 5 cannot go into 3, so it is 15 3/5. So our final answer is 15 3/5. I think what I'm going to do is leave number 7 and 8 for you to try yourself. You should be able to do just fine on it. I'm going to jump down to number 9, where we start doing it with the distributive property. Number 9 has 4 2/5 times 10. So let's split this up. 4 plus 2/5 times 10. Because of the distributive property, I know that I can take that 10 into here. I can also take it into there. Okay? So I can rewrite this problem as 4 times 10 plus 2/5 times 10. 4 times 10 is 40, plus 2/5 times 10, which is 2 times 10, which is 20 over 5. What is 20 over 5? 20 divided by 5. 5 times what is 20? 4. So I actually end up with 40 plus 4, which is 44. Number 10. 26 times 2.5. So let's set this up. 26 times 2 plus 1/2. Okay? Now I can distribute. So I now have 26 times 2 plus 26 times 1/2. So 26 times 2. Well, let me do that over here. 26 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1, 5. So I have 52 for that part, plus 26 times 1/2. 26 times 1 is 26 over, remember the invisible 1 that we have there? 1 times 2, which is 2. So it actually ends up becoming, how many times does 2 go into 26? 2 goes into 2 one time, because 1 times 2 is 2. Bring down the 6. 2 goes into 6 3 times, because 3 times 2 is 6, which brings it down to a 0 again. So it is actually equal to 52 plus 13, which is 3 plus 2 is 5, and 5 plus 1 is 6. So it is actually equal to 65. Number 11. 6 times 3 2/3. So I'm going to write it as my distribution problem. 6 times 3 plus 2/3. See, we just separated them out, that's all. Now I can put it to both of them. And I have 6 times 3 plus 6 times 2/3. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 6 times 2, which is 12, over the 3. So the 18 is going to stay the same. What is 12 divided by 3? How many times does 3 go into 12? Right, 4 times. 18 plus 4. So 4 plus 8 is 12. Carry the 1 over. 1 plus 1 is 2. And so I am left with 22. Let's go down to number 12. Jake can carry 6 1/4 pounds of wood in from the barn. His father can carry 1 5/7 times as much as Jake. How many pounds can Jake's father carry? So I have 6 1/4 times 1 5/7. They need to be turned. You just need to turn them into the improper fractions. So 6 times 4 is 24, plus the 1 is 25, over the 4, which we started with, times 1 times 7, which is 7, plus the 5, which is 12. Yeah. Over 7, which is the denominator we started with. Okay? Then I can go through here and I can go, okay, 25 times 12. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Put in our placeholder. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. Add it all together. 0 plus 0 is 0. 5 plus 5 is 10. Put the 1 up there. 2 plus 1 is 3. So I have 300 over 4 times 7, which is 28. And now I can see if I can take anything out of it. $300 over 28. I can take out, they're both even, so I can take out a 2. As I said, it's not super complicated. It just takes a really long amount of time to do. So our 2 into 300, let's put it there. 2 goes into 3 one time, because 3 minus 2 is 1. We'll bring down the 0. 2 goes into 10. 2 times 5 goes into 10. That will end up with us having just a 0 at the bottom, so we'll add on our extra 0 for 150. 2 into 28. 2 goes into 2 one time. That'll bring us down to a 0, bring down the 8. 2 goes into 8 4 times, because 4 times 2 is 8. That brings us down to 0 again. So it is 150 over 14. Those are both still even numbers, so we can still take more out. Let's take out another 2. 2 goes into 150. 2 cannot go into 1, but 2 can go into 15. How many times can 2 go into 15? 7 times. 2 times 7 is 14. 15 minus 14 is 1. Bring down the 0, so we have a 10. 2 goes into 10 5 times. That'll end up being a 0. So we have a 75 on the top over 14 divided by 2, which is 7 on the bottom. They're not still even. I cannot divide 7 by 3, and I cannot divide 7 by 5. So that is as far as I can go that way. Now I have to figure out what this is as a mixed number. 7 into 75. 7 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 7 is 7. 7 minus 7 is 0. Bring down the 5. 7 cannot go into 5, so we put a 0 there, and we are left with 5 over 7. So 10 and 5/7 ends up being our answer for that one. The just getting the answer in the first part isn't all that hard. It's all the work that we have to do to make sure that it's in simplified form and in a mixed number that ends up taking absolutely forever. Okay, let's do number 13. Pause it if you need to. A glass can hold 3 1/3 cups of water. A bowl can hold 2 3/5 times as much as the amount in the glass. How much can the bowl hold? Okay, so 3 1/3 times 2 3/5. Okay, so whole number times denominator, 3 times 3 is 9 plus numerator, 9 plus 1 is 10 over 3. Times whole number times denominator, 2 times 5 is 10 plus the numerator, 10 plus 3 is 13 over 5. Remember what I said about when we multiply by 10? We just add a 0 on to the end of it. So 10 times 13 is 130 over 3 times 5, which is 15. Okay. Let's see what we can take out of that. The 130 is even, but the 15 isn't. However, they both end in a 0 or a 5, so I can definitely take out a 5. So I'm going to take out a 5 on both of these and see what we end up with. So 5 goes into 130. Again, let me change colors. So 5 cannot go into 1, but it can go into 13. 5 times what? Times 2, because 5 times 2 is 10. 13 minus 10. 3 minus 0 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. We'll bring down the 0. 5 goes into 30. How many times? 5 times what is 30? 6. 5 times 6 is 30, so 30 minus 30 gives us 0. So we have 26 over, what is 15 divided by 5? 3. So I have 26 over 3. It's an improper fraction. We need to change it to a mixed number. 3 goes into 26. How many times? 8. 3 times 8 is 24. 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. I cannot take 3 into 2. And so I end up with 8 2/3 as my answer. On the other side, page 152, number 1. The vet has 2 puppies. The small puppy is 4.5 pounds. The large puppy is 4 2/3 times as much as the small puppy. How much does the large puppy weigh? So I have 4.5 times 4 2/3. Whole number times denominator, 4 times 2, 8, plus the numerator, 9/2. Whole number times denominator, 4 times 3, 12, plus the numerator, 14/3. So 14 times 9, 4 times 9 is 36. 9 times 1, is 9 plus 3, 12. So that is 126 over 2 times 3, 6. It's even, so I can take out a 2, but let me see if I can take out a 3 as well, because there's only a 2 and a 3 on the bottom. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 is divisible by 3. So if I can take out both a 2 and a 3, that means I can divide out that evenly. So I'm going to put 6 into 126 straight up. I'm not going to bother trying to simplify it. 6 cannot go into 1, but it does go into 12. How many times does it go into 12? 2 times. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 minus 12 is 0. Bring down the 6. 6 goes into 6 how many times? 1, because 6 times 6 is 6. That gives us a 0. So the entire thing is equal to 21 pounds. Number 2. We have Becky lives 5 5/8 miles from school. Steve lives 1 5/9 times as far from school as Becky. How far does Steve live from school? 5 5/8 miles. And then Steve lives 1 5/9 times as far. So let's see what's going on with this. Rewriting. Whole number times denominator. 5 times 8 is 40. Plus the numerator, 40 plus 5 is 45/8. Times whole number times denominator, 1 times 9, 9 plus the numerator, 14/9. Okay, so I now have 45 times 14. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 4 is 16 plus the 2, 18. Space holder. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 4 is 4. Add it all up. 0. 8 plus 5 is 13. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 4 is 6. 630 over 8 times 9, which is 72. I can definitely take an even out of here, so I can definitely take out a 2. Let me check if I can take out a 3 as well, so we can just take out a 6 in one swoop and not have to worry about it. 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 0, that's still a 9. 7 plus 2 is also 9. All right, so here's an interesting thing about the nines. If you add them together, and it's not just divisible by 3, but it is actually exactly 9, you can take out a 9, which is 2 3s. So I have right here, what I'm looking at right now is I can take out 2 3s and a 2. So 2 3s and a 2, 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18. I can take out an entire 18 like that. So let's try that. So I'm going to divide by 18. Let's see what happens. All right, so 18 into 630. Oh boy. Okay, so we need to think about this one a little bit. 18 times what? 18 is really close to 20, and 20 would go into it 3 times. So let's try 18 times 3 and see what that gives us. 18 times 3, sorry, I'm writing it over here. It's getting a little lost. 8 times 3 gives us 24. 3 times 1 gives us 3, plus 2 gives us 5. 54. I need 63. That's probably as close as I'm going to get. Honestly, I think that's as close as I'm going to get. Yeah. So I will go with 3, and that becomes 54. Let's borrow. That becomes a 5. 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. Bring down the 0. So now I need 18 times something that will get me close to 90. 18 times 5. If I have 20 times, it's either times 4 or times 5. I'm going to go with times 5 because the 0's at the end, and I know that a 5 will give me a 0. So I'm going to go with times 5 to start with. We'll check and see if it's right or not. 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. There we go. So 35 minus 90 is 0. So we have a 35 on the top. And how many times does 18 go into 72? I'm thinking that might be our 18 times 4. Maybe. 8 times 4 is 32. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. 72. So that was 4 times. Okay, so I now have 35 over 4. Let me get another color. I am going to go the 4 into the 35. How many times can 4 go into 35? 4 times what is about 35? So 8. 4 times 8 is 32. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0, so we get rid of that. And 3/4. So for number 2, our answer ends up being 8 3/4. All right. We are way over time. So I am going to leave the review problems for you to try on your own. Good luck. You can do it. See you later.